Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tampa City Council. I am filling in for Chair Clendenin today. Councilmember Carlson, you have the invocation, and after he introduces the invocation, if we could stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Great, thank you. I have C.T. Harris here this morning, who we all know, but for the public, I'll go through a short bio. Her daughter is behind her also. C.T. is an accomplished entrepreneur, podcast host, professional communicator, and motivational speaker. CT has built a reputation as a catalyst for change across industries. Her work is grounded in authentic engagement, bold thinking, and a relentless pursuit of solutions that uplift communities and create opportunity. As director of communication, connections, and outreach for a local nonprofit, CT continues to lead with heart and purpose, amplifying voices, forging strong relationships, and creating pathways for lasting impact. CT, with over 20 years of experience spanning entrepreneurship, public service, and strategic communications, CT brings a unique ability to connect with people, ideas, and resources to drive meaningful change. Her career in public service began as a legislative aide to Tampa City Council District 5, where she helped champion inclusive initiatives and rally behind equality and humanity. Her success in that role paved the way for her historic appointment as the City of Tampa's first small business navigator, an achievement that reflects her deep commitment to economic equity and innovation. And I'll speak for myself, but probably others who were here, we miss your positive energy where you light up the room wherever you go. So thank you for coming this morning. Everybody, please stand and stay standing for the pledge.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you, Councilmember Carlson, and your amazing aide, Darcy. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Eternal Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts. Thank you for the city of Tampa and to every person who has been entrusted with leadership in this city. Thank you to the Tampa City Council for their willingness to serve and for the responsibility they carry on behalf of this city and its citizens. We are grateful for the progress that has already been made, for growth, opportunity, and the steady work that has strengthened this community. We acknowledge that every good step forward is made possible by the wisdom, intellect, and perseverance you provide. We ask that this same clarity of mind, discernment, and vision continue to guide every decision made here today. Lord, we pray for the restoration of humanity and leadership. Help us remember that behind every policy, every vote, and every debate are real people, real families, and real neighborhoods and future generations. Give our leaders the courage to look beyond party lines and personal interests and the humility to listen with open hearts. May decisions be rooted in justice, compassion, and a shared commitment to the greater good. May this council lead with integrity, unity, and bold hope, choosing what builds, heals, and lifts the entire city. God, we ask that you bless Tampa, bless its leaders, and bless all who call this city home. I decree and declare today is another day of answered prayer. In your darling son, Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Okay, Councilmember Vieira will be a little bit late. There's a bad accident on the interstate, so roll call, please.
Miranda. Maniscalco. Hurtak.
Here.
Young. Vieira, Carlson.
Here.
Clendenin. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion for adoption of the minutes for January 22nd and the workshop and the evening sessions held on January 29th? So I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are going to go straight into the approval of the agenda. We have a walk-on ordinance. Is anyone speaking on that, or are we just going to go ahead and walk it on? If so, I need a motion.
Put on the agenda, I guess, under staff reports after 1 o'clock.
I have a.
It'll be on for first reading.
It'll be on for first reading during.
Whenever
first
when
reading?
when do you want to put it on the first reading?
We can put it under first readings. How's that?
All right, that's my motion to put this walk-on item E2026-A, Chapter 2, under first reading.
Now, if I can, I don't believe, let's see where that would be. It would be prior to item number 40.
Yes, okay, so this is the walk-on is after 39, got
Yes,
it?
yes. Was there a vote on that?
So moved.
So, do I have a second? I have a motion from Councilmember Maniscalco, a second from Councilmember Carlson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I have there's a memo from my office requesting a continuance for item number 1. At the request of ATU, can someone make that
Motion to
motion?
continue the ATU Employee of the Month to May 7, 2026, under presentations and commendations.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Maniscalco. I heard a second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And a
Okay.
motion to continue item number 2 as a request from my office for Feeding Tampa Bay. This is going to be rescheduled for a later date to be determined.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we need to move to item number 31. Due to the amount of money, this needs to be moved under staff reports.
Move.
So I recommend putting it right after administrative update.
All right, move item 31 to follow immediately after the administrative update.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have item number 48 was misnoticed.
We have to wait till 10:30 to do
I
it?
was
No.
told no, that we did not have to wait.
No, you can take it now because you can't hear it at 10:30, so we might as well just remove it from the agenda. Mr. Michelini represents,
Okay.
and the date that has been selected is May 7th of 2026.
Move to
Mr.
continue.
Michelini.
To renotice, remove from the agenda and renotice, please.
Yes, we're respectfully requesting the May 7th date for a new hearing.
Okay, so if your motion could include
move-
renoticing.
Move to continue item 48 to May 7th
Nope,
under.
oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
It's setting a new.
Because this is a misnotice, it has to be removed from the agenda and rescheduled and set
All
for.
right, move to remove item 48, and then it
Okay.
will be rescheduled
Well,
at a later date.
We should probably do it two separate motions.
No, one
No? Okay,
motion,
sorry.
the same day. The motion should be, if I can articulate, I'm sorry, to remove it from the agenda and reschedule it to be reset for May 7th, 2026 at
10:30.
1:30.
10:30.
10:30.
10:30.
Okay.
10:30.
All right, I have a motion to remove item number 49 from today's agenda.
48.
48.
48,
Oh, I'm sorry, 48.
VAC 2510.
I have a motion to remove item number 48, VAC 25-10 from today's agenda, and then have it
Reset.
reset for May 7th under 10:30 a.m.
Including a
Including
renotice.
renoticing.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Any
you, council.
opposed?
Thank you,
Okay,
council.
moving on to staff reports. We have an administrative update from Director Ted Fowler on the city park piers. So that will go on. Is staff needed for item 51?
No.
Okay.
You had continued that, didn't you, or no? Or, no, I'm sorry. It's the old library building on 7th, right?
Yes, and it has been, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Young, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. They came to an agreement, instead of the 3-year term, further contract is 2 years, and then they put a clause in there that either side with the 70-day notice can terminate the agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also, they put into the agreement that City Tampa can go in and make any repairs and assessments while they're working, as long as it doesn't disrupt what they're doing.
Okay.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, Madam Chair, that will be no staff needed, and
No-
it'll
no
be
staff
taken,
needed.
and it'll be taken up after the consent docket.
correct.
Thank you.
Is anyone, going back to item 31, do we need staff for that? That's the large amount, but do we need staff?
No.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say one thing on 51?
sure.
Because we're not allowed to talk each other outside of this. You know, the big proposal over the last year was to move USF Graphic Studios in there. And there was a whole movement where money was raised, all kinds of stuff, and then it got stopped somewhere. And so that would be a transformational project for the whole area, and it would provide grassroots artists places to leverage off the expertise of graphic studios. So anyway, you may know that already, but just in case you didn't, I know the community is coming up with ideas too, but that's an idea that could really help transform the whole area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, item number 52, do we need staff?
No.
Okay. Yes.
Just going to ask, because staff is monitoring this, if you could announce after a consensus, no staff or staff.
Well, at the end, I was going to, oh, okay, that's fine.
As you go along, because they're following
So
you.
item 31, no staff. Item 51, no staff. Item 52, no staff. Okay, item number 53.
Yes, I don't find the written reports to be acceptable, so
Okay,
I want to discuss them. It really, we could probably ask Marty, but if somebody from legal wants to be here, the question is, what can we do to restrict what is done to shut down the roads in downtown, because what they're doing isn't working.
Okay, and so I'm assuming that also applies to 54.
Yeah.
Okay, so 53 and 54, we do want staff. And I'm going to tell staff right now, you should be prepared to come before lunch. Or pop up, however you want to do it, because I think we'll get through some things. What about 55? Councilman Vieira, that's a verbal report, so we'll just say yes.
Yep.
We do want staff for that. Item 56. That's a written response. I will leave it to say yes.
Because she'll be here for 55.
Yeah, so yeah, we might as well just do 56 as well. And 57, those all kind of go
Yes.
together, so we'll leave, so staff, yes, for 55, 56, and 57. 58, yes, and I would like to move that discussion to the very end, after item number 60,
Move
so
to
that
it.
we can
That's fine.
get the rest of our agenda done.
Can I make one comment about it?
Uh-huh.
We got bombarded with emails. I think last week we were saying that we didn't want to get bombarded by emails, but we did on a lot of different topics. But I think just for people who might be sitting around all day wondering if their organization is going to get funded, I think that we have the Social Action Fund coming up in the next couple weeks is in a separate conversation.
Nope,
We don't?
and that's talking about 2027. That's not talking about now, and that's a May workshop, April or May.
So the question is, what I was going to propose is that we talk about the budget surplus, would talk about where we move buckets. So if we decide to fund something other than a city project, that we would recommend moving a set dollar amount to the Social Action Fund, and then we would have a separate discussion within the Social Action Fund about how to spend the money. I thought we had some kind of event in March to talk about it, and
No, that's to talk about the 2027 budget. So we can definitely talk about that during item 58. I think that's a good idea.
but my point is that if there's an individual nonprofit out here, ideally we would have the Social Action Fund discussion on its own, separate from whether the discussion here today would be whether we put more money in the Social Action Fund. But ideally we wouldn't be going through every single nonprofit right now.
Again, I think that's a discussion for 58, because Councilman Vieira is not here, and I know has a lot to say about that. So yes, we need staff for that. Ms. Kopesky will be here for that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And if I could just add to that, just for the context for the public, there are no budget resolutions on the agenda for this today.
Correct.
So there will not be any official action relative to moving money today.
Okay.
Okay.
So item number 59 is staff needed.
No.
No.
The
Okay.
calendar.
And then, so no staff is needed for 59. What about 60?
Motion to continue to February 19th.
Okay, I have a motion to continue item number 60 to February 19th. I have a second, or a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then can I get,
Motion to receive and file 61 and 62.
okay, I have a motion to receive items number 51 and 61 and 62. Those are written staff reports, so those aren't things that we can talk about. And I have a second motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I do want to say that Actually, I think we're good with that. I don't know that Councilman Vera may have something to say about 51.
Motion to approve
Or
the agenda
61
and the
rather.
addendum?
Okay, I have a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum. I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I believe, Mr. Shelby, it is up to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of council, members of the public. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, here to talk with you very briefly about the rules of decorum for this morning's meeting. Now, you have had the opportunity to fill out a general public comment card if you wish to speak this morning under general public comment and placed it in the box outside, one card for speaker. Each person submitting a card will be recognized by name to approach and speak, and preference is given to those speaking on agenda items per council rules. Now, a 3-minute time limit applies per speakers, and hope you print legibly because names that cannot be read may not be called. To speak at a public hearing, and if you're here to speak at something that's labeled a public hearing, that's items 40 through 49 on today's agenda, the place to sign up for that is not to fill out a card, but to fill out the sign-in sheet for public hearings that's at the podium outside, and your name will be called at the time, you will have the opportunity to speak. Your name will not be called, but you'll have the opportunity to speak when that item is called up for public hearing. Now, people, members of the public are please reminded to refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds or displaying signs or graphics. And please direct your comments to the entire City Council as a whole rather than individual members. The Chair will rule out of order any person who speaks without being recognized or attempts to address the City Council from outside the speaker area at the podium. Persons failing to comply with the Council rules may be ruled out of order and, at the discretion of the Chair, may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of today's meeting. Finally, City Council members should please refrain from engaging a speaker during public comment, and the public should be aware that City Council does not take questions or have a dialogue with you during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position. So if you're here on items on the consent docket, or if you're here to speak on anything on staff reports, or after that, if you wanted to speak on off-agenda items, you'll have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, do we have the speaker card?
I do not have the speaker cards yet, but we do have our registered online speaker, so we'll start with Mr. Randolph. Mr. Randolph, if you're available, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa CDC. Over the months, we discussed the major parts of the Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center. How AI can help transform underserved communities, and how the Web3 can expand capital access to low-income neighborhoods. Now I want to show how we connect all together that supports the Tampa goals for equity growth. The West Tampa Economic Opportunity Network brings these components together into a coordinated path linking residents, businesses, and neighborhood groups and employees. First, the Skill Enhancement Builder is our workforce hub, offering workshop, certification, and training aligned with high living wage careers to residents to gain skills for today's tech society. Second, the home-based e-commerce center supports home-based and online entrepreneurs with digital tools, storefront development, marketing help, and business-to-resident connection that help micro-enterprise grow. Third, the West Tampa Business Next connects local companies with residents, emerging entrepreneurs, and community resources to strengthen collaborative mentorship and economic growth. Fourth, Neighbor to Neighbor Connect links neighborhood groups to share information, coordinate activities, and access resources, strengthening social ties and making support even more. Finally, the job connection is a streamlined pool linking residents to job openings, workforce programs, wraparound services, and career navigation support, creating a clear pathway to employment and stability. The West Tampa Technology and Wealth Building Center has gained national attention for the bottom-up this placement strategy. It begins with we began with no money, no office, and no paid staff. Only a community committed to doing the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have the speakers today. Just a reminder that if you are talking on the agenda and you've written something down, those would go first. People who do not have a specific topic go next. So my first commenter today is Elizabeth Thomas, followed by Mary Beth Williams and Pastor Williams. So Elizabeth Thomas, thank you.
Good morning, council members. My name is Elizabeth Thomas. The growth of South Tampa is extraordinary. More and more families are moving in. You can see it in the endless construction, waitlisted daycares, full summer programs, and in the traffic, where a short 5-minute drive now takes 25. And you really see it in our neighborhoods. Kids are everywhere now. Children are outside playing in places where just a couple years ago there wasn't a single kid in sight. The county's growth is well reported, and you can see the impact across South Tampa. There are simply more families with kids everywhere you look. That's why our neighborhood parks are so important. Families rely on them, and when we personally visited every park south of Gandy and most north of Gandy, what stood out immediately was that these parks have not been maintained for years, at the exact moment when we need them the most. These are just a few examples. At Palmetto Lions Park, the picnic shelter roof is caving in. It's completely unusable. Across almost every park, the play structures are outdated. The swing sets are missing swings, cracked, and many molded swings as well. And right across from Robinson High School at Bobby Hicks Park, the basketball court is sunken in. That's why I support allocating $2.5 million in surplus rollover funds to South Tampa park repairs. These are long overdue fixes that families run into every day. The land is there, the parks are established. Families shouldn't have to leave their own neighborhoods just to find a safe, usable park. This surplus gives us a real chance to finally address these long-standing issues. And I also want to mention Gadsden Park, which I've been advocating for heavily. I'm grateful improvements are planned, but many of the important fixes are set far into the futures. Families are using that park now, and I hope these improvements do not get lost in the shuffle and can be completed alongside these other repairs. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mary Beth Williams, followed by Pastor Williams, and then after that, Tara Bluma.
Good morning, Chair and council members. My name is Mary Beth Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Friends of the Riverwalk. On behalf of our Board of Directors and all of our community supporters, I would like to sincerely thank City Council, the Mayor, and City staff for your continued support for including the Tampa Riverwalk as a city asset in the fiscal year 26 budget. We are incredibly grateful for the city's partnership and for the confidence that you place in our organization. The support will allow continued high-quality programming, events that are free and open to the public, and services that activate the Riverwalk, enhance our downtown waterfront, and create welcoming experiences for residents and visitors alike. We look forward to another year of strong collaboration and to delivering top-notch programming that reflects the pride we all share with the city of Tampa. Thank you again for your support.
Thank you very much. Pastor Williams, followed by Tara Bluma, and then Jason Marlowe.
My name is Pastor Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street. You know I don't want to speak about nothing on the agenda, but I just want to speak from my heart. You know, I'm concerned about people, and I love people, and God loves people. And he wouldn't have made us if he didn't love us. Thank God that he do love us, all of us, whether you're white, black, green, or yellow, whatever color you want to be. God loves everybody. And I thank God for loving me. And now I got a problem. I told you I don't want to speak about nothing on the agenda, but I did want to speak some black history to you. But it's not black history now, it's white history. And understand what I'm about to say. I pick out some, I'm writing a book, and it's completed. And I don't know whether they want me to publish it or not, but I'm gonna have it published as soon as possible. But you know what? We don't get a fair share here in this said place whatsoever, or the courthouse. But we got to understand, we are people, we're united, and we are some of the best people in the world because we have a agenda that we want to honor Jesus Christ, honor God Almighty. And we just thank God for these days. I'm an 87-year-old man, I'm handicapped, and y'all don't give a damn about me. But you know what? Somebody's gonna give a damn, and that's God Almighty. And God has been so good to me, and we respect God for being good to us. I know this bell gonna ring soon enough, but I got a lot I want to say. And basically, it's like I said, it's not nothing on this agenda, but it's coming from the heart. You know, a little white boy went to a school in Connecticut, killed 20 people besides teachers. And that's just sad. I wonder what kind of satisfaction can he get out of that? A little white girl jerk her mama in the vein. And I'm wondering what kind of satisfaction she got out of killing her mama. And her mama was a Sunday school teacher. You know, we don't do things right here in Tampa, Florida. But I want to tell y'all something. We better try to get it right before the Lord Jesus appears. We're going to be in a world of trouble if we don't have it right. I praise God everywhere I go. And my love for God and love for you, thank God for you all.
Thank you so much.
Y'all have a blessing.
I have a card for Sandy. I think it's Sanchez. I don't see Sandy here, but oh, okay. Because this is for a rezoning, and we don't fill out comment cards. Those have to be talked about during the rezoning itself. Tara Bloom. We'll wait until everybody gets what they need. For the record, Councilman Vieira has joined us. Okay. Oh, there's not enough, so.
Oh, here, take this one.
Okay. Go, Tara
Good
Bluma.
morning. I'm Tara Bluma. You may have heard a time or two this week that the residents of South Tampa would like some help with their parks. Today, you have an opportunity to help the parks in South Tampa with some desperately needed repairs. You all received a list of repairs compiled with feedback from hundreds of moms. We ask that you prioritize these issues. While I'm sure we could have come up with a list of our wants a mile long, this list was focused on those needs that must be addressed to achieve a basic minimum standard. They include replacing the only 2 special needs swings in South Tampa that have both been broken for years, replacing swing sets full of rust and swings full of mold, a shelter bathroom combo with the roof caved in, slides that are boarded up, just to name a few. Please do your utmost to ensure that the entire list is resolved. After a productive meeting with Mr. Fowler, we are focusing on a few of those issues that we think can be resolved with a $2.5 million allocation from the 2025 remaining fund balance. We ask for this amount with consideration to other non-CRA areas that may also want and need help. You should have had a lot more than $5 million to allocate, But turns out you've been approving things with that extra money without the knowledge and transparency that you are even doing so. Even today, you are being asked to approve $200,000 for golf courses with the leftover money. Nothing against golf courses, but why are they getting a special item? Why aren't you considering that request with the rest of the $5 million? You are also approving AJ Palomas today. We spent $500,000 on design and construction and permitting, for a project that doesn't even have a building. Back when we received the money, $2 million was going to connect the two parks under the bridge, provide some seawall improvements, new boardwalk, and a floating kayak dock. Today, what you are approving doesn't include any of that. The $2 million was free money from THEA that the city just couldn't be bothered to use for the past 5 years. How much more could you get with your money back in 2021 than you can get today? South Tampa deserves better. You've been to our parks. You see our needs. You usually don't have money for us. Today you do, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Jason Marlowe, followed by Luke Swak. Okay, sorry if I mispronounced that.
Good morning, Council, on this dreary Thursday. I'm here just to advocate simply for the full funding of Cornerstone Kids Community Stepping Stones, whose wonderful art lies in the back. As a product of after-school programs, I can personally attest that these programs are core to keeping kids out of trouble. As I can promise, if not for these programs, I would be even more trouble than I already am today. Council has previously discussed how investing in these programs is a proactive approach to both combating crime and providing opportunities for local youth. And I'd encourage this council to lean into creative ways to finding ways to assist these after-school programs to both the benefit of children and parents. Thank you very much. Y'all stay dry. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Next is Luke Swak, followed by John Dangler.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Luke Surak.
Sorry about that, Surak.
That's fine. I'm the permit manager for Domain Homes. Here to speak today, just kind of an introductory public comment on item 60, which I think has to do with the sidewalk amendments. So we do, at Domain Homes, we do a lot of single-family residential rebuilds for property owners around the city. Today I'm speaking mostly on behalf of them rather than on behalf of Domain Homes. A lot of those owners that we rebuilt for last year had to do so because of damages from the hurricanes in 2024. And, you know, I thought that I would be a good person to kind of speak on this with just some pretty on-the-ground insight into the code and the process and what these people had to go through in their rebuilds. So many of the homeowners we built for last year were rebuilds from the hurricane damage. Most of them were in flood zones where stormwater infrastructure in the right-of-way, ditches, prevented them from installing required sidewalks. This resulted in them paying up to $25,000 in sidewalk in lieu fees. And it is ours and the homeowners' belief that these fees were unfair due to them having to rebuild by force and not really by choice. So that's the context here, but I also believe this is a good opportunity to kind of do some spring cleaning with the sidewalk in lieu code. I drafted up an amendment back in September, which I'll provide to you in a moment. I've got them all printed out here for everybody to read when they get to it today. And here's just a quick overview of what is in this draft. Number one, and this is really the most important item, the rest of them are kind of optional, just things to consider. First thing is allow storm damage victims required to rebuild per the FEMA 51% damage rule exemption from sidewalk and lieu fees. Also consider expanding this to future disaster events and or people rebuilding from non-FEMA compliant structures now to FEMA compliant in the future. And there is already a section in the code which exempts affordable housing from sidewalk and lieu fees. Second thing is to remove section 22-103C1, which allows the sidewalk in lieu option when there are no sidewalks to connect to. I think this just removes ambiguity from the code, and if you can put in a sidewalk, you must. Just make it easy. Next is add standards for sidewalk in lieu reports from mobility. And number 4 is consider allowing sidewalk in lieu funds to be used for sidewalk repairs and not just new sidewalks. And then number 5 is just cleaning up language, referring to one fund versus multiple funds. There's multiple funds per section 22-104, so just some cleaning to do there. Thank you, guys, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. If this is about item number 60, that has been continued, so just letting you know. You can feel free to add it, but we continued that to February 19th.
You want to save February 9th? You want to pass it out now?
I may as well save it.
Okay, sorry about that. We did that during agenda review. I have John Dangler, followed by, actually, I have 5 cards from someone saying we need to allocate time. During public comment, we do not allocate time, so I will call each of you individually. I have John Dangler, followed by, oh, okay. No, Mr. Dangler? Okay. So then we are moving on. And then Ms. Sanchez, you came into the room, and I want you to know that you filled out a comment card, but rezonings have to be talked about during rezonings themselves. Did you want to speak on public comment on anything else? If so, you're welcome to come up. If not, I will just put your card away.
I have public comment also.
Okay, so I will put you on for public comment also. I have 5 cards for a P3 proposal. If you all have a order with which you would like to go, if you would just come up and state your name, and then we'll go with one person, and then I guess we'll just go on to the next person.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, and don't feel compelled to use your full 3 minutes if you don't need to. Thank you.
Yeah, we thank you so much for having us here. I'm Robert James, and resident here in Tampa area, and just really excited to be able to present this public-private partnership proposal to the city. And if you're familiar with the connected vehicle pilots that were done, I was the chief engineer on the Tampa connected vehicle pilot, as well as involved in the New York connected vehicle pilot that was done at the same time, and the Columbus Smart Cities. I was the technical lead for that as well. This is the evolution of that technology, and we're going to bring this to you. It's exactly addressing Mayor Castor's comments about the Achilles heel here in Tampa. So I talked to Mayor Castor on Tuesday and gave her some of the information on this, and really excited to solve a lot of the transportation problem that Councilman Vieira had on the way getting here today, and just really addressing saving lives and improving the transportation throughout the city. My team is going to talk to you about some of the technology and stuff we want to bring and the benefits to the city. But really let you know that this is the evolution, and it's not going to cost the city anything. We're going to bring in, we just need to let you allow us to do it. Let us bring these devices in and put them around the city so that we can save lives and give you the micro positioning and real-time information that people need throughout the city, multiplying that connected vehicle pilot benefits by 1,000. Being able to deploy this citywide. And you'll be out in front of the country, you in New York, and as other cities started adopting this, open up the doors for federal funding. They'll be very expansive because this technology is catching on very quickly. We've already solved the chicken and egg problem that the connected vehicle pilot had. The vehicles and cell phones already have the technology in it. We just need to put the infrastructure side to make them talk to each other. So from day one, as soon as this is deployed, the city fleets will start benefiting with this technology. And we'll be able to have just a cell phone device that can go up in your fleet vehicles. They'll tell you exactly where you are, lane level, address all kinds of litigation issues because you'll know exactly reconstructing any accident to 10-centimeter accuracy. You'll be able to know exactly where those vehicles were during those accidents. Reducing litigation, saving $1,000 a year per driver on insurance costs, because of the reduced litigation and the lives that are going to be saved. So we just look forward to presenting you some of this information, but we really want to save lives and souls because this organization is half of the revenue that we're going to generate is going to go to charity. And it's really been set up as a God-centered organization that we really want to benefit, the community as well as, benefit, Tampa City and save, tens of millions of dollars a year in the city budgets, as well as, generate, benefit to the economy and hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Thank you very much. Next, Damon Hurl. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, whoever's next. Please start
morning.
with your name.
Make sure this works.
That's upside down.
Oh. How's that?
There's a wheel up top that you can move to make it fit.
Oh, okay. You're supposed to see it here?
You need to start with your name first, and then they will show
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry. My name is Larry Duke. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm with Urgent. And I brought this as okay, we see it there. So basically, I'm just going to touch on a few things. But this technology, some of this similar technology is already in place, already being used, but not to what we want to do. There are deficiencies in current technologies. What we're bringing to the table here is going to bring all that to maturity. It's going to fill the gaps. It's going to fill the holes. It's going to prevent and do these things that we're looking at here above. So zero cost deployment, no budget impact to the city. $8 to $25 million in annual operating savings through avoidance of crashes, all kinds of things. 200 to 1,200 fewer pedestrian and bicycle crashes every year. $75 to $200 million in total annual economic benefit to Tampa. Federal block grant opportunities. This technology is basically going to lead the way in not just Tampa, but eventually every city in the country. It's a tremendous, there's so many tremendous benefits. And this, I don't know if you've heard of the CV app, but this is an app that's already been used in 20 different cities around the country. I believe it's being used here in Tampa. It provides an audible and heads-up display indicator for pedestrians, bike safety, etc. Immediate accident micro-positioning reconstruction for insurance claims. So this is going to save the city, millions of dollars. Better automated vehicle location positioning for fleet vehicles. So again, this is going to perfect that particular technology and make that way more beneficial and useful for full deployment. Emergency vehicle automation. So again, there's so many benefits to this that I'm just scratching the surface here. And wanted to thank you very much for your time. God bless.
Thank you very much. Next. And if the rest of your group, well, never mind, just go right ahead. Please start with your name.
Thank you. William Tautman. Thank you for having us. Today I want to talk about how this technology is implemented. Here we have a roadway marker and a top of light post connector. Whether this is, the exact implementation as it looks on the connector or not, a little bit different story. The technology is ultra wideband geometry, or roadway geometry network. Basically, you have your markers, whether they're embedded in the ground or you see they're actually lighting up from the solar here, either from here or something that's mounted near the roadway. It provides a geometry from which you can tell where the lanes are. And the cars or the individuals with their cell phones or bikes can relate to those beacons, and the geometry is made because of the amount of, it's down to the millisecond as far as where the position of the vehicle is, and that's why we're able to get down to 10 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. And this has already been proof of concept. In New York City, I used to live in New York City, so this is real for me. This example here is on 6th Avenue, about 10 blocks. We use the light post mounts, and the difference in these two lines is red is standard geopositioning or GPS with your phones. And then the blue is representative of what the ultra-wideband solution provided. Also mentioned here is the L line, which cuts across to Union Square and into Brooklyn. And having waited for trains for 8 years, I know exactly what that's like. It's very beneficial to know exactly where the train is and when exactly it's going to come in. And being able, that's also been passed on to apps within, when you're not even in the station, which is really great for planning your trip and being able to get where you need to be. Now, I mentioned before that for bicycle safety, the ultra-wideband, the nature of it, you can literally see around corners. So anyone that's traveling in their vehicle can be alerted, hey, here comes a pedestrian, here comes a bicyclist or e-scooter, e-bike, etc. And there we can promote safety and avoid accidents. And the reconstruction for accidents, super helpful. You can find out who's in the wrong, what happened, mystery solved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, City Council. My name is Colton Elliott, and I am a strategic investment advisor for Urgence. And I just want to reinstate and come upon this board here. The technology is proven. Again, we did a pilot test in New York, and it was very successful. And it's not going to cost the taxpayers any dollars. In fact, it's going to save the city of Tampa, let alone $10 million annually. As well as this technology is way better than LiDAR, than vision that is currently being used. This is the future, and we believe that Tampa is ripe for this opportunity, especially with Waymo autonomous vehicles that are already been deployed through the city. This has a major application for autonomous vehicles, for Tesla. This is the future, and we're really grateful that you guys are here and listening. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last.
Good morning. My name's Damon Hurlbert. My brothers and I grew up in South Tampa, 1967 to 1977, when it was really a village. And actually, my brother Aaron wrote a song called 813. If you haven't heard it, I recommend you check it out. It's awesome. It gives you a reminder about the days when you could ride your bicycles from, St. Raphael Street to Roosevelt Elementary School. Spend time in the boys club. It was amazing place to grow up. The beach was, 25 minutes away. And this technology is really good news for Tampa. And I really do hope we launch here in Tampa first. There's a lot of places all over the world that we're going to be interested in this, and this is my home. This is where I grew up, and I want to see it launch here. But there's a lot of folks that are interested in it. So if we can somehow all get together and figure out how to knock down some of these doors and get this launched as fast as possible, it's really going to save lives, and it's the lives of your friends, your family, your community. And all the 125 million visitors that come into Florida on a annual basis. This is going to be great, and just want to let I'm hoping Tampa goes first. So let's see how we can work together, and just thank you all very much for your time. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Ashley Morrow, followed by Stephen Michelini and Sandy Sanchez.
Happy Black History Month. Hello, my name is Ashley Morrow, and I'll be sharing Tampa's Black history. So we're going to get started with the 1870s, all right? So the first thing I want to talk about is the beating of Tom Clark. The James Gaddis Court also administered the roughest sort of justice to African Americans, especially when it came to individuals who demanded political rights or criticized the local power structure. Some were taken to the whipping post for the most trivial offenses and lashed by the officers of the law until blood trickled down their heels or thrust into the pillory. In this specific case with Tom Clark, his ears were actually nailed to a post, and Geddes did not permit Clark to bring in a witness. He was accused of stealing a gun tube, and this time the judge sentenced him to receive 39 lashes. The Fort Brooke commander noted, judging from the condition of his back, the sentence was executed in a very brutal manner. And this was in 1866, right after emancipation. And in the newspaper, he goes to the governor, Governor Reed, and asks to start a militia here in Tampa. And he actually comes back. He is charged with larceny, and he comes back with a state uniform on, carrying a cavalry saber, which is like a sword, and said that he was commissioned to start a company here in Tampa, Florida. Here's the list of the 94 men, black men, that were a part of that black militia, and it was in 1870. Some names are more familiar than others. I'm going to talk a lot about Thomas McKnight. He was a leader back in those days. There's no picture of him, so we don't really hear about him a lot. But this is his name right here. He is the captain, not to be confused with Tom Clark, the one that actually got whipped. Thomas McKnight came from Hernando, as a lot of black leaders came from Hernando County, and they moved to Tampa for the protection of the military that was here in this area. And I want you to notice the date, August 27th, 1870. That next month, September 11th, 1870, the Freedmen's Bureau School started. So it needed to be started in order to have some protection for the things that they were trying to start here in Tampa, because there was a lot of stuff going on. Finally, I want to share with you all a program that myself and Green Book Tampa Bay, Dr. Hillary Van Dyke, and Dr. Cheryl Rodriguez are putting on at C. Blythe Andrews Junior Library, a public library in East Tampa. It's called The Beat at Tampa Bay. BEAT stands for the Black Emerging Talks of Tampa Bay, and we will be talking about Black history in Tampa. I think a lot of growth comes through programming. Thank y'all so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Sandy Sanchez, and then Steve McLeany, and followed by Pointer. Yes.
Good morning, City Council. Sandy De Diego Sanchez. This past week, I sent you all an email listing the difficulties I had going through the permitting process with the City of Tampa. I'm not going to go into all that because it's quite lengthy. The problem with the delays are very, very extensive. Those that want to comply should not be subject to the many challenges with the permitting system. I'd like to support Mr. McElhaney's suggestion on the changes that need to be made to code enforcement. But along with that, I would like to suggest a workshop that will allow the public to come in and talk about the problems that they're having. Our situation, my situation, and the one Mr. McElhaney is representing are not isolated. There are many, many people that have had these same problems, and they go on deaf ears. So I would like to ask you to please support Mr. Linney's request to change, to try and reorganize and make this system more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve McElhaney, followed by Stephanie Pointer, and that is the last comment we have for today.
Good morning, Council.
Oh, I don't have a card for him, but if he's here, then that's fine. Go ahead.
Morning, Council. What I had sent to you over the last month or so involves suspending fines while you're in the code enforcement process and trying to correct the situation. So it's not as easy to get out of as it was represented to you. And what happens is you get in this fine situation, liens are placed on properties quickly while you're in either a rezoning or a variance or permitting, and you can't just go to the hearing and say, please give me another date or something like that. It's not that easy. And it really is much more difficult. I mean, I know what to do. It's difficult for me. I can imagine what it is for a layperson or somebody else who is, not as informed or not involved in the process. It's very difficult. So we'd urge you, I know you've set a workshop date for this to come back in May, but the urgency of this is exasperated by the amount of fines and the liens that are placed on property. I have a different issue I want to show you. This is late night work that's being conducted, and property is being used for storage of heavy equipment, and I want to play this for you. Can you hear that?
Not well.
This is 10:30 at night, Platt and Fremont, heavy equipment, and the residents there are complaining. There's lights and these beepers, and I've turned this into code enforcement. I've also discussed it with the building department and TPD, and they're not quite sure what to do about it. So anyway, I've sent you an email earlier regarding this as well. But this is going on all night. And if it complies with the construction code, 7 p.m. is the cutoff and 7 a.m. is the beginning. There's 2 videos. I'll show you the other one. These are on different nights. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you get the idea. It's
Truck number 2.
Fremont and Platt.
On their property.
And there's probably a 30 or 35 foot high stockpile of dirt that they're accessing,
Okay.
no silt barriers.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And Stephanie Pointer?
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. First of all, I want to point out that the parking fees went up. Did anybody know anything about that? Did anybody hear anything about that? This is, of course, rhetorical, but I didn't know about it. I don't remember seeing or hearing anything about it. If you knew about it, great. But the citizens who are coming and paying to park down here are kind of upset about it. And I'd like to see the resolution. So number 27, Pelonis Park. This is kind of my baby. This is an agenda from the GCA for the Gandy Civic Association, September of 2021, when they got public comment. Okay? And they had it starting in April of 2021. $2 million was given to the city of Tampa by Thea. Now, this is what got all this stirred up. When I saw this in August, I went, wait a minute, it's 5 years later, we don't have a park yet. But yet there was no projection to spend any money in that park for 5 more years. So I started screaming. There was no intention of spending that money. Now, I pulled this morning off the capital improvement page. It says include but not limited to trail connection under the Gandy Bridge, passive recreational opportunities, fishing, picnicking, walking, kayak launching, other passive recreational activities. Boardwalk, shelters, blah, blah, blah. So we get down here to this scope of work, which I got on email yesterday, and it says, in the scope of work, it says that we're supposed to have a dock or a pier, considering we have 2 piers in South Tampa, south of Gandy right now, that are completely unusable. But I love this down here at the bottom. It says the modular building it's a modular building, and it doesn't even include light fixtures. So you get to go to the bathroom in the dark. There's no water fountains. Really? It's freaking hot here. You need water fountains. This is what's left. You know what this is? This is crap. We got screwed.
we had $2 million. $2 million in 2021 money was a hell of a lot more than it is now. We were supposed to get amenities. Not only were we supposed to get the amenities in the last 5 years, but we had that park and the one to the north of it shut down for 5 years prior to that for Thea. Why is it that the money wasn't spent? We need all the amenities we were promised. We need the things that are listed on here because this is what we were told in September of 2021. Either that or they're making Mr. Thompson into a liar today. It's not fair. We pay over $10 million. We had a $10 million jump with all the extra apartments that we have down here, and you guys can't find the money to do the right thing? Do better. And I know it's not you. I know it's not council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a couple more people who walked in bearing any, okay, go. Got 2 more speakers. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to tailor this pretty well. And
Please start with your name.
Shigret Doss, and in recognition of Black History Month as well, and actually every day is Black History Day as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to say that y'all are the devil, but I'm going to say y'all damn sure doing his work. And for the people out there who didn't know that on the very same morning that the Crunk man was arrested, this city council canceled the city council meeting. No explanation was given, and pretty much just said, hey, just get your asses up out of here. That was disrespectful to the citizens of this city. And I guess everywhere but Tampa and Hillsborough County, and of course the 2nd DCA and the 13th Judicial Circuit, there's supposed to be rules that y'all are supposed to abide by. But I'm gonna put this where the goats can get it, and shout out to one of our ancestors, the late great Joe Madison, and put it where the goats can get it. And to John Hope Bryant that said that when the rules are published and the playing field is level, we kill it. So when they can't beat you, they gonna cheat you. And I guess another testament of that is the so-called Christians, to think that they recharacterized or recharicatured the individuals they claim to worship is more proof of the heinousness of you people sometimes. They even rebranded woke, and woke was a warning word to our community, to people traveling and doing other things, to be aware that they will hang you from trees in this nation. And if you're traveling in certain places, be aware of sundown towns. And that wasn't that long ago. See, my father joined the military when he still would have had to sit in the back of a bus. It wasn't that long ago. And I'm going to say this, people, you don't have to agree with how Crunk Man approaches things, and I can understand that. But you're out of your damn mind if a person who looks like me and who served in this nation's military and is honorably discharged and service-connected, that I say it's okay for anybody to violate anybody else's First Amendment rights, whether you agree with it or not. Because they start with a little bit, and then they take a lot. And so, temper yourselves when you don't have a great understanding of things. And I do recommend that everybody take the time to read that parchment that they call the United States Constitution. And it's not my fault if you didn't get to attend the greatest institution of higher learning in the city of Tampa, the University of Thomas Jefferson High School.
Thank you very much, sir. Our last speaker, sir. Gentleman in the beige. Sir?
Yes, please come up and start with your name.
Good morning, City Council Mayor. My name is David Phillipson. I am from Brooksville, Florida. I recently moved to Hillsborough. For 100 years, there has been a Confederate statue in Brooksville. I saw the last council meeting where a woman by the name of Ashley Moreau, I believe her name is, talked about
right behind you.
Oh, hello, by the way. Talked about the manor house and the gentleman who owned it and all that. My main point is the manor house in Brooksville generates a revenue for the county. It is actually, yes, it is true that the the Manor House serves as a venue for parties and weddings and things like that. But it is used, like I said, to generate a revenue. And it is, from what I remember, and this is something I have to look into, the property in the Manor House itself is probably on the list of historical properties for the state of Florida. And yes, it is true that Hernando has a bit of a nasty history. But I've done my research in Hillsborough too. Now, the one thing, at the time that she had mentioned, the Klan actually was here in Hillsborough too. It's not just Brooksville. But I've seen in past years, people would protest and fight for their Southern rights and pride and things like that. And it was all over TV many, many years ago. So, it's just something to think about. History is important, and it's, important to preserve for future generations. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, moving on to our next. We have some board and administration appointments. Is there anyone here to speak on the board and administration appointments? If not, I think we just.
And 8.
I did want to say something about this before we moved. I know these are the mayor's choices. We also have some choices that council needs to make. If anyone knows anything about that, I'm not. Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, and a couple things about this committee. It's been inactive for a long time. I made a motion a couple months ago to put the tree fund underneath this, and instead of creating a new committee for trees to reactivate this one. But if you look at the page 16 of our agenda, it has a listing of the open positions, and for some reason this one is not on it. At least I don't see it. If there are positions available that city council can fill, we need to know that and notice it, because somehow the mayor knows to fill them, but we don't.
Councilmember Carlson, we do have positions open. The reason they're not on that list is because this is a new board. However, council will be provided with a memo regarding applicants on February 19th.
Okay, and if you wouldn't mind just stating your name for the record.
Yes, Kawaniki Ramsey, Assistant Deputy City Clerk.
Sorry, just had to say that.
So this is a board that's been inactive, but anyway, if you all could add it to this list. The reason is that the public reads the list, and now you all kindly have added this because before the public and we didn't know that these
He
seats
just
were
said that they're bringing nominations on the 19th.
No, but it needs to be on this list. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is that how would people know to
apply?
How would people know to apply? People have complained in the past that it's difficult to find on the city's website what positions are available. So this now, the clerk added this a couple months ago. This is the list that people would know. So
Okay.
if you all send a memo to city council, the public wouldn't see it.
Okay, and it looks like, Mr. Shelby, it looks like we might have some public comment for these. We do accept public comment to talk about boards and administrative appointments, do we not?
Generally, it's during general public comment, it's council's pleasure. We do not have a specific place. It's not set for a public hearing, and it does not say public comment on the agenda. So however council wants to handle it, generally, the opportunity, that's why we we used to place this before public comment and then allow people to speak. But we didn't do that because you were going to take final action on it. What happened is we then moved it on the agenda to follow the public comment, so you would not have to take public comment again.
Okay, Councilwoman Young.
I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make an exception for today, and council takes additional public comments and waives its rules, that's fine. But the point is that The reason it was moved on the agenda to follow public comment is it was supposed to be, public comment was supposed to be, these items were supposed to be inclusive into the area of public comment.
Okay, so I have sounds
council's
like a
pleasure.
motion from Councilwoman Young. Do we have any thoughts on it? I have a second from Councilmember Carlson. All of those in favor to allow public comment, let's say one for all of them. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you,
Okay.
council.
So we have public comment on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it sounds like we also need to handle this within our rules.
Meaning
We
what?
need to come up, yeah, we need to figure out like where people are allowed to comment on this.
Oh, clearly the answer, council, is, and I will include that in my comments.
No, my point is for the council to have a discussion about where they believe this should go.
Oh,
in
I
the
see.
future.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, fine. Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. I'm kind of confused because I've been up here and spoke against candidates for the VRB. I've been up here and spoke against candidates for the Planning Commission. I have been up here and spoke for candidates for the Planning Commission. So this is a new discussion to me because I know that I've done it before, many times, many times. Of course, Councilman Carlson talked about this list. I'm kind of curious, who's those 5 neighborhood people that are supposed to be coming forward on the 19th? First thing I heard about it, Carol Ann Bennett has been working on this committee along with trying to get this committee to meet since like 2017. It's supposed to be meeting twice a year. What's going on with this? I want to know why, in God's name, City Council would approve that they get 5 candidates. That means you're supposed to collaborate to put people on the board. Normally, you guys get 7 seats. So you got 6 seats for the mayor and 5 seats for city council. That math doesn't math for me. I'm just saying. And I want to know who applied for those other seats. Because it doesn't make sense that nobody that I know, nobody that Carol Ann Bennett knows, is going to be on that board. Who is it? They're supposed to be your appointments. Do any of you know who it is? I'm just saying. I mean, you might know, and I'm just stupid and out of the loop, but it doesn't happen very often that I'm completely clueless on something like this, that Carol Ann Bennett has been pounding on. She's got email after email after email pounding on this. As a matter of fact, we met with Chief Bennett about this very subject maybe 2 months ago at the Blind Tiger. So we've had lots and lots of input on this, but I have no clue who's going to be on the committee. I hope that somebody up there knows who's going to be on the committee, because the last thing I want, wait, oh my God. Do I need to pull public records to find out who's applied today? I guess I'll go do that right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Tara Bluma, I'm thrilled that this committee is being reconstituted. It's much needed. I am also confused as to when the application was open for neighborhood representatives. I'm also not aware of that. But I mainly wanted to point out that I'm pretty sure, fact check me on this, that these seats are supposed to be staggered. Yeah. And that people are supposed to be rolling off of this committee every year. And so I don't know how you're approving people today for all the exact same term. Somebody should check that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments? Councilwoman Young.
Well, I did ask a few questions during the briefing, and I wanted to at least see, the resumes or anything of who was applying. I did see some of the applications. I think one of them wasn't even completely filled out all the way. And I did also have a question about the staggering of the terms. I think, and I was told that, they would get back to me on that information. But I mean, obviously I wasn't here in 2017 when the conversation surrounding this was happening, but I did have some just initial thoughts about, and I would have liked to at least have them here to speak or to, what?
It looks like Ms. Pettis-Mackle
okay,
might be
go
here to
ahead.
speak to it.
Good morning, Kamaria Pettis-Mackle from the Legal Department. Councilwoman Young, yes, this resolution was passed prior to you joining City Council. So it was resolution number 24866, and I have that here. And I can email you a copy of it, but these are the terms in which the members are, the membership is governed by. It's in subsection C. And as you can see, it's staggered 3-year terms. And it's on your agenda, you're only approving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. City Council has your own members that you have to select to join this committee. So there will be staggered terms. These are just the first group of people who will be on this committee, but there will be staggered terms once City Council completes your appointment process. There will be staggered terms because they won't have the same terms as the people who you're approving if you choose to approve today.
So the groups of appointments are staggered, not each, because it says the terms of each member shall be staggered 3-year terms. So that would be each person, right?
Not each person. You'd want the committee to not have people, you always want people to be a part of the committee, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to achieve that, they have to have different terms. These people that are on the agenda today will have a term as, and the terms of the members or the public who apply today will be from February 5th, 2026 to February 4th, 2029. If City Council completes this process of selecting your own members, they will have different terms other than the terms of the people who you are approving today. They won't be from February 5th, 2026 to February 4th, 2029 because you don't have those people yet. They will have different terms.
Yeah, that's only like a month or two apart. That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
that's
they're
not
not even-
staggered.
Okay,
No, I'm with you.
Okay, just because the first line is, it says, the terms of each member shall be staggered 3-year terms. So in my mind, that, maybe I'm not.
Well, if 6 start today, then 5, yeah, how is that staggered? So this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna formulate my thoughts.
So this is a resolution or a ordinance?
Resolution.
Okay, so as a resolution, we can change the resolution, correct?
If that's the desire of City Council.
So I'm going to recommend that we spend a little more time on this and possibly change the resolution.
Yeah.
So I will accept some type of motion if somebody needs to formulate something more specific.
So I'll withdraw my motion of approval, but also these February 19 city council appointments, who are they? What about the application process? Do we have a list
I
of
don't know.
names, or
I
does
can't
the-
speak to that.
Is the process open at that time? What is it?
So I do have clarification on that. It is my understanding that city staff handled that media release that should have went out to the public for applications. The application process then closed and we vetted and verified using background screening. And from that list, the mayor chose her selections, and the remaining is scheduled to come to you on February 19th. That memo would be coming out tomorrow.
So
Okay, Councilwoman Young.
sorry. So when, can you tell me when did it go out? When did?
The memo could be coming out tomorrow.
No, I mean, when did the?
I have no further information other than that the city staff department used that.
May I suggest?
So we don't know when the announcement went out that we were accepting applications for this board?
not to my knowledge.
And so when it is time for council to pick our 6, we have to choose from the remaining applicants? So we don't get to,
I don't believe you're forced to choose from that list. That is just a list that we have that are verified.
Mr. Shelby?
Council has a lot of questions as to appointments to a board that it wants to create and have its own appointees. And clearly, I don't believe this is ripe, but a lot of questions are also raised. And I should also point out, Council, that on page 16 of your agenda, there are lists of open boards and commission positions that are available, but I don't believe I see this board listed there. So I don't know why or how council would have any indication that on February 19th, you would be picking appointments to a board from a pool that you're not even aware of. So my suggestion is to put it on for a future agenda for discussion, have the resolution, have the ad that went out, have the staff members who were tasked with soliciting for this without council's knowledge or approval, and perhaps you can go further from there.
We have we have room on the March 26th agenda, if anyone wants to make a motion.
Can I say one thing?
Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, this is one of those things where people say Tampa has a strong mayor form of government, but in what happens is that the mayor is only, the charter actually has a balance of power, but what happens is that some mayor's offices usurp city council's powers, and that's an example of what happened in this case. For the last 7 years that I've been on council, this administration has tried to usurp city council's powers by putting people that they like and can control on all these committees. In a couple weeks, we're going to be talking about the ethics committee, which is another big problem. They use as a weapon against city council and people in the community. We need to change the charter to to make it very clear. I think every committee should have either 2 or 4 appointees by the mayor and 1 each by city council. If what happens, the way that administration controls it is if there are fewer than 7, if we each can't appoint 1, which is in the case with most committees, then suddenly a list pops up and we don't know where it came from unless we have a long discussion about it. It turns out that they come from the mayor's office or people that they recruit. And so then if we don't each have an appointee, it turns out that the mayor controls all of these. And the public wants a balance of power, so that's another discussion for another day. But I'm disappointed. Also, my colleague just said that she was briefed on this. As I said in email, and I'll say publicly again, I expect to be briefed just like anybody else on issues that are coming up. I refuse. I stopped meeting with the mayor's political advisor 6 years ago or so because I don't see the need to meet with someone who's counting votes and who has been investigated by the Tampa Bay Times for stirring up conflict on city council. And but I do expect to meet with the administrators who have policy content, and most of them do contact me and reach out to me. But the fact that that apparently at least one of my colleagues was briefed and I wasn't means that the administration is selectively excluding people, which again is against the charter and is against the intention of the public. It's against transparency and accountability in our government. I will make I would make a motion for it.
I think.
Okay.
Did you want to make a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll make a, I mean, if you want to piggyback on it, but I'd make a motion that we yes, ma'am.
No. So I had a question. I thought you got that during your regular briefing. Was that when you talked about it?
got what?
When you had questions, did you do that during your regular briefing or a separate briefing?
My regular.
See, yeah, it was her
But
regular briefing.
But can my point is that 6 years ago, I stopped those because the mayor has her political advisor running it. And I don't want to participate in the mayor's political directives and activities. I want to get briefed on policy. And I've sent out memos and other things. The mayor's office has been saying in the last couple of weeks that I refuse to get briefed. No, I refuse to sit in a briefing that's controlled by the mayor's political advisor when the Tampa Bay Times has pulled public records and found text messages that person, the communication director, sent to city council, stirring up conflict on city council while we're sitting in meetings. And I'm happy to share those with anybody who would like to see them. And there are other examples as well. My point is that there's no regular briefing if the mayor's using it for political purposes. We need to have administrative updates and policy updates, not political updates. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Maniscalco, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, that's why I always say, I love this job, but I hate the politics.
Yeah.
And I know what I got myself into. Anyways, I'd like to make a motion to postpone or continue items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 until March the 26th, correct? Of 2026. And then in that, we can look at the structure of this board as to staggering the terms. So if it's going to be 11 seats total, how we stagger those in response to some concerns, but also get questions answered. And if we can put this like under, is it a regular meeting or a workshop?
It's a regular meeting.
So if we can put this under staff report so we can have a discussion regarding the process as which this was advertised. Because again, if we look at the end of this agenda, it shows you a list of available boards. But the process that was used to advertise this, who the applicants are and whatnot, because I'm left in the dark. February 19th comes around and it's going to be new to us, or a week before when we see. So that's my motion, that we have this under staff reports as a city council discussion, and in that, continue items 3 through 8 and wait for any further approval.
I have a second I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Young. Mr. Shelby first, then Councilman Carlson.
I would ask for then a follow-up motion, so the items prepared for next week that are planning to come to you come back on the same day.
It's in my head.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Two things real fast. Number one, this isn't on the city website either, so the public wouldn't have seen it. Councilmember Maniscalco, what do you think about continuing these items until a month after? Because the reason why we're going to discuss the changes we need to make to the resolution.
So do you have an April date?
So what this is just to throw out to everybody.
Can you find an April date?
There's like the 17th?
Yeah, the idea is that we would have one date where we would discuss the resolution, ask staff to fix it, and then later we would have a discussion about the
All right, and
applicants.
then, that is the motion, but to, as part of this motion, move items 3 through 8 to April 16th, which is a regular session. So again,
Okay, so let's separate the
you want
two.
to separate? Okay.
So you're going to start with moving those to April, and then you're going to come back?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so then scratch everything, and I'm going to start again. I'd like to make a motion to continue items 3 through 8 to the April 16th regular city council agenda.
Under boards and appointments?
Under boards and appointments, right after public comment.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I still have a second from Councilwoman Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can you also move next week's?
Yes.
While we're here.
So I'd like to make a motion to continue the City Council Natural Resources Advisory Committee appointments from February 19th to April 16th under boards and appointments, along with my previous.
My suggestion, if I can, I'm sorry.
Okay, I need a second before I can do anything.
Second.
Okay, I have a second from Councilman Vieira. I have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Vieira. Yes, Mr. Shelby.
My suggestion would be to have the discussion in March.
Well, that's what we're planning to do.
my last motion.
So you're moving the
We're
council
moving things
appointments-
first.
You're moving the council
The council
appointments
and the mayoral appointments to April.
to the same day?
Yes.
Now I
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
My apologies.
Okay, so I have a
Thank you.
motion moving from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then,
The final motion is that on March 26th of 2026, under staff reports, that City Council have a discussion regarding how this was advertised, meaning the Natural Resources Advisory Committee, who the applicants were, the applications, and what, where we go from there.
do I have a second?
Oh, and I'm sorry, and how we stagger the terms. So if we
Okay,
can think about how to staggering the terms.
So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. Councilman Carlson. You have your mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Councilman
Yeah,
Miranda.
thank you. I'm all for this, but you have to be careful when you want staggered terms, or we ourselves in government don't have staggered terms.
Okay. That makes
I'm just saying that.
Thank you. And I would say that one thing that's not on there that I would like a friendly amendment is to just talk about the resolution as a whole and possibly changing the resolution.
Regarding how to stagger the terms? Or?
Well, staggering the terms, appointees by council.
Okay, yeah, and then we'll have
just like a full, robust
a
discussion.
broader discussion on the resolution itself and the appointment and selection process.
Okay, so I have a motion. Anyone else? Okay. Councilman Miranda?
No, none.
Okay, Councilman Carlson?
What date did we pick for that?
March 26th.
On the April 23rd workshop, we have council discuss as to whether to assign oversight of the tree trust fund to the city's natural resource committee. So we can just leave it on there, I guess,
Yeah.
unless you want to discuss it on the other day.
No, I think it's a good,
Okay.
okay. So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, Mr. Shelby.
Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. On the March date, I'm also going to, just for your information, and perhaps you want to address this further on down the road, Rule 8 of your own Rules of Procedure is entitled Filling Vacancies to Various Boards, and there's a process that's defined there. So I'd like to have council take another look at it and see if that also might need to be looked at, about how that process is in fact working.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion regarding that fact, possibly adding it to the March 26th agenda?
Or I could just just send it out to you that date, and council can decide what they want to do with it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Mr. Shelby, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Okay, so did we approve that? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, excellent. Let's move along. Item, public safety, Councilman Vieira. Items 9 through 13.
Yes, ma'am. I hereby move 9 through 13.
I have a motion from Councilman Vieira. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. We have Neighborhood and Community Affairs Committee, Councilwoman Young.
I move items 14 through 22.
Okay, so I have a motion to move items 14 through 22. I do want to talk a little bit about the golf course capital, and that I do support this only because one of the things that they are working on is a new, like, sort of Top Golf sort of thing that's actually going to make them money. So ideally, they won't have to come to us for any money in the future as this goes forward. So I do support that. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, infrastructure.
Thank you very much. I have items that I'd like to move 23 through 27, but 27 is a substitute resolution, so it's clear for the record.
So I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. Item 27, we are going to hear an update about parks and piers from Mr. Fowler.
Do you want to hold it until?
I personally would like to hold 27
All right.
until we've heard from Mr. Fowler. I apologize
Okay.
for not having done so during.
I will then make a motion to move items 23 through 26 and 27, pull it for later discussion and possible approval after we hear from Mr. Fowler.
Would you prefer to have those separated? No? Okay. So I have a motion from a new motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor of moving only items 23 through 26? Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Councilman Carlson?
I move 32 through 36.
You mean 28?
28
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilman Miranda, you're next, 28 through 30.
28 through 30.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, now Councilman Carlson.
Move 32 through 36.
Okay, so I have a motion moving items 31 through 36. I'm sorry, 31 was moved, 32 through 36. And I have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Move
Mr.
items
Maniscalco, or
37
Councilman
through
Maniscalco?
38.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco to move items 37 and 38. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Move to set item number 39, public hearing, March 5th, 2026 at 1:30 PM, City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, 33602.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we have our walk-on.
Our walk, oh,
Yep, that was next.
Okay.
Did we have anyone here?
I believe you've been briefed on it, council, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but I'd still like someone from the administration to
presentation?
be here to talk about it.
I guess we're moving quickly. We can hold that, and when they come back down, we can
All
start
right.
the second reads, if that's what you like.
Motion to open the 10 a.m. public hearing.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, these are quasi-judicial proceedings. If you are here to speak on items 40 through 47, any item 40 to 47, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Mr. Massey is here, so we'll go ahead and go back to our walk-on while we have a moment.
I apologize.
No worries.
This is an ordinance amending an existing ordinance that you have relative to the city's obligation to defend elected officials. I think it's pretty self-evident what it's supposed to extend it to your, as city council sits as the CRA board as well as city council. That's the purpose of the ordinance. I'm here for any questions. This will be first reading. It will be scheduled for a public hearing and will be publicly noticed before it's adopted, so.
Okay, Mr. Shelby.
And I just want to let council know
name.
that, I'm sorry, thank you. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, the title for the ordinance on first reading is on your addendum.
Okay.
May I?
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I did have a briefing on this, so thank you to Scott and Mr. Moore, or Morse. I just want to remind my colleagues, we have a CRA meeting coming up, and we keep bumping the contract with the CRA and the city. We need to not sign the existing contract with the city. We need to amend it. There's no reason for the CRA board to sign the contract now. We need to use that leverage that the contract is out of date to negotiate what we want. This is something that I was hoping would be in the change to that contract. In meeting with Morris and Scott, I understand why they did it this way, but please, this is one example of why that existing contract puts the CRA board at a disadvantage and leaves the city in complete control. So I would ask my colleagues, please read through the version that I did, edit it however you want, but if we approve the existing contract with the CRA, there are other things like this that are not included that are bad for the CRA board. Thank you.
Mr. Massey, did we not already approve that?
I believe the services agreement has been continued for further
I
discussion.
really thought we approved that
It
in
was the
January.
meeting that
you
we
weren't here.
canceled. It was the meeting that we canceled.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to approve it.
Okay, so we have a, I need a motion. Yes, Councilman Vieira.
No, and thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank all of City Legal for jumping on this. When you're an attorney and there's a 1% chance of something bad happening, you spend 100% of your time working on it. So y'all were professionals and hard workers, so thank you.
This
would
is
be
first reading,
so
that's
if you would
the point
read
of a
the
walk-on.
title.
Do we need public comment?
We'll have public comment at the public
Well,
hearing.
no, I mean, this is a first reading. We allow, it's specifically in our rules to allow public comment during a first reading.
Yes, there's a
Mm-hmm.
motion
So-
to that, yes.
If there's anyone who wishes to speak about this, please come on up. State your name, you have 3 minutes.
Stephanie Pointer, I support this. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'm wondering why in the hell it hadn't been done a long, long time ago. Anything that you do because of the city should be covered, and we should not forget that we've had previous council members who were sued individually, and the city didn't help them out until afterwards. So you guys deserve all the protections that you can get because you're doing a really, really hard job. That's not part-time, by the way. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay.
I'll do it.
Do we need to close?
It's not it's not officially a public hearing, but that's fine. I'll address that when we update
Okay, motion to close by Councilman Vieira.
Second.
Second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Councilman Maniscalco.
I'll read it, then there's
Yeah.
a second, and we can have discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending Section 2-234 of the City of Tampa Code entitled Representation and Reimbursement in the Defense of Elected Officials to include city council members acting in their capacity as a community redevelopment agency board members in the definition of elected officials, providing for possible reimbursement to the city by the community redevelopment agency for legal fees, and costs incurred by the city and representing community redevelopment agency board members, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Vieira. Any comment? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. We need a, please read the vote and the second reading information.
Motion carried unanimously with Clendenin absent. Second reading adoption will be held on March 5th, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now we're going to go into the public hearings. Item number 40.
Good morning, Council. For the record, Christopher DeMonch with Development Coordination. Item number 40 is REZ 2590. This is a rezoning request for property located at 2539 West Cherry Street. The request is to rezone from planned development to planned development for residential single-family semi-detached uses. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Applicant? Do we have an applicant for item number 40? Oh, excellent. You haven't been sworn in yet. Mr. Ramsey, if you wouldn't mind. If anyone else needs to speak today during the public and hasn't been sworn in, please raise your hand and to be sworn in. Thank you very much. Okay. Raise your right hand.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a
Name?
Alex Rios. We updated our drawings specifically with the elevations per the comments. I appreciate the stronger criticism on it. I think it was well warranted, so I'm happy to represent it and hopefully get your continued approval. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone? Comments? Questions? Do I have a motion to close? I have a motion to close by Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Councilman Vieira, will you please read item number 40?
Yes, ma'am. I move an ordinance presented for second reading and adoption ordinance rezoning property and general vicinity 2539 West Cherry Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification PD plan development to PD plan development residential, single family semi-detached, providing an effective date.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote. Yeah, and Councilman Carlson is left.
Motion carried with Carlson and Clendenin absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Can someone move the resolution?
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item number 41.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch with Development Coordination. Item number 41 is REZ 2591. This is a request to rezone property from located at 2704 West Palmetto Street. Request to rezone is from planned development to planned development for single-family semi-detached uses. Revisions have been completed and submitted to the clerk's office, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone here for item 41? Okay. Anyone in the public wish to speak about item 41? Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Councilwoman Young.
File number REZ 25-91, resolution approving a bonus provision.
We're doing ordinance.
Oh, sorry. Ordinance being presented for a second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2704 West Palmetto Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification PD plan development to PD plan development residential single family semi-detached, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Carlson and Clendenin absent, I vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution? Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item number 42.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Item number 42 is REZ 25100. This is a rezoning request for property located at 2707 North Armenia Avenue and 2334 West St. Louis Street. Request is a rezone from RS 50 and CI to planned development for storefront residential, commercial office, as well as all CG uses. Revisions have been submitted to the clerk's office. I should say revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. And I'm available for any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions? Okay, applicant for item number 42.
Good morning, Sam Araf. I second what he said, and I want to thank City Council and city staff for their support. It just made the project more beautiful.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, is anyone from the public wish to speak to item 42?
Second.
I have a motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2334 West St. Louis Street and 2707 North Armenia Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS 50 residential single family and CI commercial intensive to PD plan development, storefront residential, office commercial, all CG uses, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Carlson and Clendenin absent, I vote.
Unanimous? Okay. So thank you very much. Item number 43.
Good morning, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 43 is REZ 25107. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 3208 and 3210 North Tampa Street. The request is to rezone from RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development for residential single family attached uses. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. The changes directed by council along with a note addressing the elevations have been added to the site plan. I am available for any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Do we have an applicant?
Good morning, Council. James Lascara, applicant. Appreciate the feedback from first session. Excited to receive unanimous approval at the first hearing. Made updates to our renderings and elevations as requested, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak to item number 43? Okay. I have a motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Miranda.
File 43, file number REZ 25-107. Orders being presented for second reading adoption. An ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 3208, 3210 North Tampa Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning districts classification RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development residential family attached, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Clendenin and Carlson absent, I vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 44.
Good morning, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 44 is REZ 25110. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 3219 West Arch Street. The request is to rezone from RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development for residential single family detached. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I am available for any questions.
Okay, any questions? Applicant, I believe I see an applicant on the screen, Mr. Henry. If you could raise your right hand, please, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
We cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself. Cannot hear you.
There we go.
There you are. Okay. Mr. Henry.
Yep. Hello, good morning, everybody. For Henry Domain Homes, 3104 North Armenia Avenue, Suite 2, Tampa, Florida, 33603. And here for any questions you may have, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Anyone in the public like to speak to item 44?
Move to close.
I have a motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Vieira.
Yes, ma'am. I move an ordinance presented for second reading and adoption ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 3219 West Arch Street, City of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD plan development residential single family detached, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote. Missing one. Try again. Everybody record a vote. That's okay.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson and Clendenin absent, I vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 45.
Good morning, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 45 is RAZ 25111. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 802 and 804 East Floribraska Avenue and 3003 North Mitchell Avenue. The request is to rezone from RS50 residential single family to CG commercial general. Since this is a Euclidean rezoning, there are no site plans. I am available for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, do we have an applicant for item number 45?
Good morning, Council. Catherine Coyle, Boggs Engineering. I'm available for any questions. We just respectfully request your approval.
Okay, anyone from any public comment on item 45? Can I get a motion to close? I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor? Aye. Councilwoman Young. Yes, 45.
File number REZ 25-111, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 802 and 805 East Floribraska Avenue. 804 East Floribraska Avenue and 3003 North Mitchell Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to CG commercial general, providing an effective date.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Clendenin and Carlson absent, I vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 46.
Good morning, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 46 is REZ 25117. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 4202 West Spruce Street. The request is to rezone from RS50 residential single family and PD plan development to PD plan development for residential multifamily. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. The applicant has also added the note regarding the height as proposed. I am available for any questions.
Okay, any questions? Applicant?
Good morning, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. As Stephanie mentioned, we made the changes between readings, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak to item 46?
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Sanchez has 3 names. Please acknowledge your presence. When I call your name, Liuba Leolina? Okay, well, there's two people. How about Mariam Arvanitis? Okay, and Robin Lockett? That's 3 additional minutes for a total of 6.
Okay. Oh, well, he's not, he's in the bottom. Okay, okay, yes,
Okay.
Ms. Sanchez. So we have, I'm sorry, Mr. Shelby, a total of 6 minutes? 6 minutes. Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Sandra De Diego Sanchez. In April of 2025, the Carver City Lincoln Gardens community came before you with their concerns for their community and their homes regarding this same project. Last year, the rezoning failed. Traffic concerns and overbuilding, which include 1,500 units that are presently being built within the Carver City Lincoln Gardens property. The main concern is the geotechnical engineering report that the developer ordered and paid for, which is not in the file. This property has not changed. That report is still good for this property. Not sure why they decided not to add it, except that there are some questions about the property. The property they are going to build in is the same as last year. The property is on a landfill, and as are many of the homes. Many of the residents, including recent buyers, were never told, but the developer knows. The developer is aware that there is documentation showing how many of the homes have already been plagued with foundation issues. It's not cheap to have the foundations repaired. The existing homes are fragile. The residents fear for the safety of their homes, a major investment for them. This is part of what we speak of many times as the missing middle. Should this neighborhood be put in danger? I have given you a summary of the geotechnical report. I have highlighted a couple of issues, and I want to just mention a couple of remarks. On page 2, it gives a description of what the report was done for. It was supposed to be a 4-story wood frame fairing and have office buildings and a garage. The plans have changed. On page 6, I would like to just read to you the proof should consist of compaction with a vibrator compactor at the final cut of existing stripped grade elevation, whichever is lower. The compactor should be operated at a slow walking pace and at least a total of 10 passes direction of the structural series. Care should be used, and this is the important part, for operating this compactor near the existing structures to avoid transmission of vibrations that could cause settlement damage or disturb the occupants. Static mode rolling compactors should be considered adjacent. In this regard, a visual survey of the condition of nearby existing buildings prior to the compaction and vibration should be done. On page 8, at the bottom, the scope of our services, this is from the engineering company, does not include any environmental assessment or investigation for the presence of absence of wetland hazard or toxic materials in the soil, groundwater, or surface water within or beyond the site studied. Any statement in this report regarding odors, retaining or soil, or other unusual conditions observed are strictly for the information of our client. I am asking the developer to submit the complete geotechnical report, as it should be used when they proceed into permitting. The report was not submitted with the current design, nor was it submitted for the final design. The property has now changed has not changed, and the report would be current. Also, which is not being considered, is the demolition of the current buildings, which will take heavy equipment to demolish. Their proposal structure is on the same landfill. What jeopardizes the community jeopardizes this developer. It is irresponsible at best. The staff report finds it consistent, but nowhere does it address the permanent damage to the community. The consistency that there are found only benefits the developer and does not address the human responsibility of keeping neighbors safe. I have included on the very first page the land use goals. They do not comply. They're against those land use codes. I please ask you to deny this request. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Next. Please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Gloria D. McNair, and I'm a resident of the Carver City Lincoln Gardens community. I would first like to share with you comments that residents of the community signed a petition against this. And it reads, to the members of City Council, we the undersigned are opposing the petition to build a multifamily construction on the property located on the corner of Lewis Avenue and Spruce Street. We had representation at the first reading of this request at that last meeting, but because of the extensive, and at the last meeting, but because of extensive presentations by the Davis Island representations, we were unable to express our opinion. The meeting extended into the early morning hours, and for various reasons, we were not able to remain. The infrastructure remains the same, and it is dangerous for us to move about safely in the community already. Permitting this construction only enhances the danger. As we are aware, there are another multi-family construction being built on the corner of Boy Scout and Lewis Avenue, guaranteeing more traffic on the already dangerous to navigate Lewis Avenue. We ask that you keep in mind that the safety of the community is to be considered when making these decisions, and that this construction will impede our safety more than it is at this time. We ask that you please deny this representation, and I have signatures to go with that petition. Personally, I would like to say that I realize that the petitioners have made some adjustments to the plan, but those adjustments are not enough to justify construction of the building at this time. The infrastructure is just not in place. I held my breath earlier this week when I observed a member of our community taking a chance by pulling out in front of oncoming traffic on Lewis, forcing the driver to stop just to get onto Lewis Avenue. Please consider our livelihood and the danger of adding this structure to and more traffic to our community and not allow it. We are not against growth and improvement, but we are asking that the building of this structure be denied until further infrastructure is created. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you have those signatures, you can hand them to Mr. Shelby.
And Madam Chair, may I say something?
Yes.
It's not on this. That y'all had gotten a memo that I had a speaking engagement, so just a reminder of that. It's about another 12 or 13 minutes. I say that 'cause we'll be down to 4 council members for the benefit, but just FYI.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Veronica Sutton. The negative impact, which holds my deepest fear, is the infrastructure. My home is currently a remediated sinkhole property. In 2009, we had 36 helical piers placed under our home to stabilize it, $43,295. 2010, we had an additional 12 helical piers added for $14,000 additional dollars. There are 3 homes directly behind the proposed complex and 2 homes on the other side of Union that have experienced severe cracking.
If you could please show the wolf.
Upside down?
Yep. It's upside down.
I need to turn it.
Mr. Ramsey, could you please pause her time while we figure this out? It's upside down. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, so my house is right here, 4203, and next door, my house is the house that had the remediated sinkhole. This house right here, directly behind, on Lower Street, 1908, they've had severe cracking that they've had to adjust and make payments for within the last year. The house immediately next door to me had foundation repairs. You go on the other side of Union, 4218 had foundation repairs, and 4220 right now is experiencing severe cracking in their home, which they are addressing at this point. The structural damages of this massive building will cause some damage to our homes, and it's very scary. If this goes through, will we have access to the findings for the building site, monitoring our property and damages throughout prep, building process, and after? Questions about financial ability if this damage occurs. Right now, homeowners insurance for people who have remediated sinkholes, it only covers a catastrophic event. So the only way I would receive any help from the insurance company is if my house falls into an abyss. If I get cracking, any kind of other issues with the foundation, I would not receive any compensation from the homeowners insurance. So I would really like for you guys to consider the damage that this new structure may cause the existing properties that are right there on Union, the 3 directly behind the property and the 2 on the across the street. They're going to be adding over nearly 800 units and 1,000 parking spaces between the 2 Paradise Ventures that they've been approved for. Having traditional neighborhoods can represent the broader Tampa concept by mixing the old with the new. Growth should be added responsibly. We have enough apartments already surrounding us. Please keep our heritage neighborhood, Carver City, safe. Protecting neighborhoods is important too. And I have petitions.
Yes, ma'am. If you would give them to the attorney and he'll hand it out to us.
These are
Thank you.
different than what has been previously handed in? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Davis. Anthony is my maiden name. I grew up in Carver City back in the 60s, and I moved away and came back, and I live in my parents' house. And I'm concerned about the buildings that have building around our community. When my father was sick, they built the recreation center. I have no oppose about that. They built the International Mall. He went through all of that in his illness. Also, we have cracks in our house, and I'm very concerned about that. They put the structure right behind where I live. We own the 2 lots plus where we live. And if they continue to build behind us, beside us, and where they're deciding to put the 4-story structure, and the pool is right next close to me, behind me. And we have my neighbor, the elderly, and they go through all of this. You know, people are sick. We have elder people. And most of our people on our street, in our community, have been there for decades. And to continue to build and making heavy traffic, it takes you almost about 5 to 7 minutes to get out from, I live on Union. And to get to Lois, to get out, it's very scary because you got to concentrate on people walking and the traffic. And then sometime if you go out and you're not paying totally attention, you can get hit. And it almost scared me. And I walk my neighborhood a lot and seeing all this new, this and that going up and making, one of my neighbors said that she had her house renovated. She's new to the area, but she showed me how she's getting cracked. So if they're continuing to build, where are we gonna go? Our house is gonna start sinking. And we wanna know what's gonna come to us. We have to sell or go somewhere else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good morning. My name is Anna Laelina. I am a homeowner of the property directly adjacent to the property site. And the concerns of my family remain unresolved, which are the height, being the 7-story building. And the sinkholes, of course, is a main concern. We're right there in between 2 sinkholes. And the overcrowding and the density of the neighborhood and the whole entire area, and the safety for the family, for the children. There's a school right next on Lois. There's a magnet school. We have demonstrated previously that the surrounding area is in no shortage of available apartments, and granted Met West for almost 400 units and another sister site of this developer for 410 units built right there directly on Lois. So that's additional, almost 1,000 units. Regarding the height, I would like to stress the council's attention to the fact that this 7-story building will set a precedent for the entire area of it being so high adjacent directly to the single families. There's no other apartment complex that high adjacent to the single families. We have demonstrated that before. We are very concerned for the safety of the children of the neighborhood stemming from increased traffic and criminal activities being brought up from so many apartment units in the neighborhood. And we have previously demonstrated, and it is known again, that the entire area is a former landfill, and sinkholes is a main concern, and like my neighbor says before, but I would like to add that I have spoken with this neighbor, the very corner. She had mentioned that her property starts having cracks as well. My property is right here. And so I have previously addressed the fact of this matter with the developer, and I have not heard back. But I feel like should this be approved, the developer gets all the benefit for many, many years, but with the current property owners, with the community, we are left with possible additional costs for having to have structural inspections ongoing throughout this construction stage and then completion stage and going forward, and possible remediation. So, and again, this hasn't been addressed. We have no warranties proposed from the developer or anything of that kind. And with the likelihood of future redevelopment of nearby county and city properties, again, we've talked about this, there's going to be so much traffic there. Lewis Avenue and Spruce Street cannot sustain that. Previously, it's been recorded on a April meeting that after the hurricanes, the entire Spruce Street was flooded, and people could not just move along at all for days.
Okay.
I'm urging to deny.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next, and you came in after, so whoever, if anyone else has come in that hasn't been sworn in, please stand, raise your right hand if you plan to speak. Please stand, please raise your right hand, ma'am. Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Ruby Dean Daniels. My last name is spelled Daniels. I live on Main Street. My address is 4316 West Main Street. And on that street, I'm between Manhattan and Hubert. And around the corner, you'll see that'll be Union Street and all of that, where all this structure is going up. My main concern is about the children and the children of the children. And it's just not safe. And what I want to say is, what was the best thing about that, in that neighborhood, it was a neighborhood served through the Hillsborough County Public Schools, including Jefferson High School, Lavoie Exceptional Student Center, and Roland Park K-8, a magnet school. We have children that participate in that neighborhood from all over the world. And it is not safe to get out of the driveway. It took me 10 minutes to get out of my driveway, and my kids can walk to school. But the reason I was gonna drive them to school, because it wasn't even safe to stand in our driveway, which we are 4 feet into the driveway, but people would speed through Main Street. People walk their dogs. I love my dogs. I love my guinea pigs too. But it's just not fair that they're not treating it like a neighborhood residential family, which consists of children and all of their loved ones and the elderly. What's hurting me the most is I love to see like Lavoie, that school, particular school, would teach those kids safety, and they will walk up and down in Carver City, those streets. Those children had assignments. And the person, to hear that person say to the other person, no, I'm in charge, because today they said I can go down Main Street, or I'm gonna go walk almost all the way to Lois, or we're gonna go around Union. These are people that, children that became, they are people, they are adults, but it's not safe because the cars rule it, and the buildings that they're putting in is smothering what we have already established, and we want to continue to have it there as a foundation and call that our neighborhood. We want to continue to do that. And I thank God for the City of Tampa Police Department, because I was almost run over on Manhattan standing on the corner, and the officer pulled out the line and she said, I saw what happened. So I thank y'all for this little bit of time, because I can talk, I can tell you about everything. My son is 50 years old. My son turned 50 years old, July the 10th last year. And my son is very successful, and he went to Roland Park. He went to that school area. That's what helped him along the way to be the man that he is from the military. And I thank y'all for your time. I know I went over, and I'm going over. Seconds is gone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, next.
Let me tell you what this list is.
Oh, just 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, please start with your name.
Hi, Stephanie Pointer. You know, the first reading lasted till, it was at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was funny because there were a lot of folks from the community that were here that night, but that was the night of the Marisol meeting. And there were a bunch of people who stayed behind and actually spoke in favor of this project. And so I spent just a few minutes Googling, and I don't have any connection between Ripco and the actual developer on this, but I think it's strange that we had two people from that company. But we had 1, 2, 3, 4 different people from Playbook Public Relations Company that spoke. They were not neighbors. They should have been part of the applicant's presentation. They stood out like a turd in a punch bowl because it was so late, and they didn't look like the other folks who came here today and spoke publicly. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understood. And we're having more and more of this, of developers calling their friends and neighbors and having them come and testify, and they have nothing to do with it. People are getting paid to come and do public comment. Now, I'd like to point out to you this house right here, this red pen. This is the applicant's site. This red pen right there. Remember, if you'll remember, the first time this came in front of you, Councilwoman Henderson had to recuse herself because she owned this property right here. This is her mother's house. It's uninhabitable. Now, do I have any proof of that? No, except for I had a phone conversation with her not very long after that hearing, after she recused herself, and she explained to me she has family who would love to live in that house, but it's uninhabitable because of the structural damage to it. How are we going to continue to destroy people's homes in order to give this developer what they want. Now, first of all, they came back, it's been less than a year, but do you know that in between this one and the last one, they filed a live local? They filed a live local in between. They got turned down because it had been previously a PD. It's not industrial land, it's not it's not, but, this whole thing with people showing up, these developers are hell-bent on building here. And yes, West Shore District allows for this kind of density, but they do not make you approve construction next to a freaking chlorine plant, because staffers don't make those decisions. You make those decisions. If this is not a safe property, you can make that decision. It's been said before, it's been done before. When the chlorine plant, when they wanted to build a chlorine plant, city staff said, we don't make those decisions, that's on you. And this is on you to make a decision. Is this safe for the surrounding community? I say no. Sandy showed you. Put Sandy's stuff in the record,
Anyone
please.
else wish to speak to public comment? Okay. Is there a rebuttal? Or the applicant has rebuttal.
Good morning, council. My name is Tyler Hudson. My address is 400 North Ashley Drive. I want to focus a bit on why we're here, what the applicant's role is, and what city council's role is. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. That's why everyone had to get sworn in, including a latecomer like me, which I apologize for. The two questions before you are, first, is this application consistent with the comprehensive plan that your predecessors adopted? The answer is yes. This is RMU 100. It's the highest density land use designation that this city has. We didn't try to change that. That was already there. This is exactly where growth is said to be directed under your comprehensive plan. And if there are issues with that, and I understand the heartfelt concerns of these neighbors and this feeling that too much growth is coming here. There are a lot of neighborhoods in the city that feel that way because the city is growing so much. The way to change that is through the comprehensive plan, which you all are currently changing now. But as a property owner, we have rights. And those rights first stem from what is allowed under the comprehensive plan. That's the first inquiry. Your planning commission expert staff, which courts have held, is expert testimony, has said, yes, this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. That's question one. Question two is whether this plan is consistent with the local government's land development regulations. It is. There is not a single waiver proposed on this plan. We are using less density in FAR than what is allowed. What you heard in the testimony, there was a lot of, I think, heartfelt concern and fear, and some of that was speculation, and I'll talk about the geotech in 1 second. But what you didn't hear is competent, substantial, and fact-based testimony that this violates the comp plan or the land development regulations. And we can go far afield, and we can go down a lot of different paths, but that is the focus of this meeting. That's why we're here. That's why we were sworn in, to determine first if this is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and second, whether this is consistent with the land development regulations. And this council unanimously, upon consideration of this at first reading, said yes. Nothing has changed. Briefly on geotech, that is not within the ambit of this discussion. To get a site permit, we would have to prove that the land can absorb the structural load on top of it. We can't build a building that the soils won't support. We're not allowed to. We wouldn't want to. That's a subsequent process in site permitting that staff has jurisdiction over. But geotech is not something we are required or really can prove at this stage because we don't even have a building fully designed yet. You got it right the first time. I would ask for your vote of approval again. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from council? So I have a question for the applicant. Just if you could speak to the residents' fear about sinkholes and foundational issues. I didn't hear you touch upon that in your
Sure.
your rebuttal.
Sure. First of all, Chris Zimmerman, the developer, couldn't be here. He was out of town. I can commit on his behalf. I know Chris, that they will have him. He will be at the next Carver City Lincoln Gardens meeting, and to continue the discussion throughout the construction process. I know, and we have seen other projects throughout the city. Construction, as you perhaps even know from your neighborhood, construction can be messy. And if this is approved, Chris met with the neighborhood association throughout this process. I think we came to a point where we knew there was a disagreement. So first of all, on his behalf, I can commit that he will do that. He will show up after this is over, because this is a long process. I know that doesn't answer your question, but I want to put that on the record. Second, on geotech, we have to prove, a licensed engineer has to prove out to get a permit that, again, that our land alone can support all of the structural load. As far as other apartments nearby, I don't know what happened. That's sort of outside the course. It is also possible that the soil beneath an older single-family home has issues, in that the cause of the cracks and things like that at a home, it might just be from the soil beneath the home. It's possible that vibrations half-mile away have nothing to do with that. We have to prove to the government, and not only that, we have to prove to people who are giving money to make a project like this happen, that it's not going to cause problems on the site or around it. We just like with stormwater, you have to prove that your site's going to take care of all of it on site. It's an engineering question that we must answer affirmatively by an expert who puts their professional license and their insurance on the line when they say, yes, this is safe. And so that is our obligation on geotech, which we're going to meet. I think more broadly, there's a discussion that this council should have about construction practices on projects. I know there is going to be concern about that, and I can't tell you that there's never going to be an inconvenience as a result of construction here. This area is growing significantly. But on behalf of the developer, I can promise that after this approval, they're not going to walk away. They're going to continue to communicate. But from a geotech perspective, this building causing earthquakes, zero evidence of that. What you heard today was some speculation, and I think it did come from the heart, but that's not the basis of your decision today. The basis of your decision today is on evidence and what is in the record. And what is in the record is a staff report finding a full consistency across every department, which is, I think, the basis of your decision the first time, which again, I maintain was the correct decision. And I hope that answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would
Councilman
just say
Miranda.
we should have a full council for this. This is going to be somewhere controversial on either side. There's facts on what everybody said, and I believe what everybody said. But however, believing everything is not factual, because they crash with each other. There's a clash there. And if this development didn't have any waivers, we wouldn't be here today. But it had 4 waivers, if I remember.
Yeah, I believe, sir, it had maybe more than
And
4
one of
waivers.
those
We have
waivers,
no
and I
waivers
read
now.
them.
6.
6, I thought it was more than 4, yeah.
I mean, I just want to be fair to both sides, and I understand. And you know what? I'm making a motion today on one here for the cycle in July. I'm going to make another one that we tighten up a lot of our rules, because every time we do something, and that, not regarding you, you're a great attorney. Honest, you do a fantastic job. You and your staff and the firm you're with, fantastic. But that's not the case. It's a case about what we have to figure out. And I'm not talking about this one right now. I'm going to go off to another subject so the record be cleared. I'm not talking about this right now. What's happening in the city of Tampa is that we're growing so fast and so perfect that we're not fast and perfect at the same time. We're building things that belong there, but then around that area, someone is suffering. And I'm not talking about you. Believe me, I'm not. I swear on my mother's ashes. But there's got to be a marriage, and I'm going to change some of these laws. I wrote one today about people having parties in neighborhood situation where drunks come in and 12,000 people are there, or 20,000 people, and the police was there. They couldn't even handle the crowd just this past weekend. And I feel sorry for the people who went. I feel sorry for the people who had to listen to that, and I feel sorry for the police department being there. So in all that, I'm going to fix it by changing the law. And this, so help me God, before I leave, I'm changing it, that a lot more has got to be done, because I don't want anybody to be unhappy. I want people to live in harmony. The problem today in America, the problem we have in Washington is nobody speaks to each other. And that's the main problem we have in communication. And if we stop doing that, Forget about the internet. Forget about your cell phone. No one looks each other in the eye and realizes what each one's need to survive. And that's the problem we have. And that's not about you. It's not about this development. I said it over and I'm saying it again. We have a problem that we cannot solve because nobody talks eye to eye. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miranda, or Councilman Miranda. Mr. Shelby?
Yes, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Circling back to this item that you have before you, you do have something in the code as it exists today upon which you apply the competent substantial evidence as you find it, and that's section 27-136, the purpose of a plan development. And as I usually do in the night meetings, I pass these out for you to see, so you can actually look at the 9 criteria that exist in your code and apply the facts as you find them to be. With 2 public hearings, you've heard testimony that you didn't hear at the first public hearing. You heard reasons why that was, but just a reminder that this public hearing is another opportunity to engage all parties to allow for more competent substantial evidence to come into the record upon which you base your decision. So I wanted to make that clear to council.
Okay. Anything else from council?
No.
Mr. Shelby?
Yeah.
We need all 4 of us to vote in the
One way or the other.
one way or the other in order for this to pass. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the rules stating that are Rule 6C, if at a quasi-judicial public hearing only 4 members of council are available to take action, then any petitioner shall have the right to continue the matter until there are a minimum of 5 members. If there is less than a full city council, then a petitioner may request to continue a matter, but it will not be as a matter of right. So in this case, council can take action, but if the petitioner does request a continuance, that is granted as a matter of right.
Petitioner?
We need a vote.
Okay.
Gotta ask him. I didn't hear what he said.
He said we need a vote.
Okay, you gotta ask the other side.
No,
Well, there
no,
is-
I mean,
there is-
it's the petitioner's choice.
Okay.
Well, the question then, council, for you is, then the question is, if there is a vote, depending on what that vote is, you may be required to create a record of the basis of your decision, if it should be different than what your initial vote was. In other words, your vote as it stands now in the agenda, you see it, but if that vote should change for any reason, my recommendation would be that that be clearly stated on the record.
Okay, so any questions before we close the public hearing?
No. Motion to close.
Well,
I have a motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco. Do I have a second?
I'm not gonna second it now.
Okay.
I really believe that when you have only 4 members, it's incumbent upon those 4 members to say if they want to have the hearing with 4 or with 7, because if not, you're going to set a standard forever, ever, that 4 members can do what the hell they want instead of 7.
Mr. Shelby, please turn your microphone.
Thank you. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. 4 members under the city charter can affect official action. That is your charter, and that is the law. However, if you don't get 4 votes, let me read the rule that applies to that. It says, Rule 6H, if a motion in a quasi-judicial matter fails to receive at least 4 votes, the motion fails. And if another motion, for instance, a motion to continue, in order is not made, the public hearing shall be automatically, let me rephrase that, and I strike what I added into the rule. Let me read it verbatim. If a motion in a quasi-judicial matter fails to receive at least 4 votes, the motion fails, and if another motion in order is not made, the public hearing shall be automatically reopened and continued to a time certain at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Did the hearing close?
No.
No.
Okay. I just heard from my client who couldn't be here. We would like to request a continuance. I'm a self-hating lawyer. I don't want more lawyers to get involved in this than necessary. So with council's grace and discretion, we'd ask for a continuance. I would ask to the next possible meeting because we do have some external.
February
pressures.
19th is the next meeting.
If that works with your schedule, I don't want to be a crowd, but that would be wonderful.
Right now, it doesn't look like we have any
Do we have the second?
it doesn't look like we have any second readings on that, so, oh no, I'm sorry, we have 7. Okay,
I'm not opposed to that.
okay, my only, does someone want to make a motion to that effect?
What day did you say?
The 19th, it's just really full.
It doesn't matter, we're here till 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, okay, okay, go on then.
I'd like to make a motion to continue this to,
Yeah, we can do a time certain, that is what Mr. Shelby said.
Yes.
Or what is
And
that
I guess
time
the question is, if you do it at a time certain, then it will have to be, you'll stop what you're doing and to take up that case
Correct,
at that time.
that is what time certain.
That does.
So, Councilman Maniscalco, would you like to make a motion and choosing a time?
so what would be an appropriate time certain? Would be like a 1:30 PM? I don't know what the schedule is.
10:30 a.m. is generally when we
All right, so
get
we'll
these,
do,
take these up.
we'll do
You
a
want it
motion,
11?
to continue this item to, and I'll get the number here, REZ 25-117. Continue it to February 19th at 11 a.m.
3:15.
315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602, United States, Earth.
Do I have a second?
Thank you for that part.
Make sure we.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but I like
Okay,
it.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. Yes, Councilman Miranda.
11 o'clock is fine, but usually we do it at 1:30, it would be best, because right after lunch, and everybody's already cleared just about,
Would
but
you
I don't
prefer
care.
Let's do 1:30 because we might have long public comment and ceremony.
Okay,
and
so
different things.
choosing 1:30.
1:30 is fine.
My request between this and that is for your client to have a meeting with the community, to talk to them about what possibly, about their particular concerns. I think that would be well advised. I know you've probably had them before, but if you could get people's contact information, that is going to be my personal ask.
And it will be granted.
Okay, so we have
Thank you, Council.
Yes.
Martin Shelby, again, I would ask that the agenda for the clerk be placed, this be the first item at 1:30.
Okay,
after lunch.
Councilman Maniscalco, is that what you wish?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a motion to move this hearing to February 19th, 1:30 PM, first on the agenda after we return from lunch at 1:30. I have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And thank you for the commenters who came out today, reminding you that we also take, I know several of you probably took your time out of your day to come here. We also accept city council email, so just to let you know. Yes, Mr. Shelby.
If I could point out that city council email is not the same in terms of competent substantial evidence.
No,
as having
I know,
somebody in person.
but for people who can't make it out twice, we also allow public comment via online access. So I know it's hard for people to come back out. Okay, so thank you very much. Please make sure you meet with these folks outside, get contact info, and have a meeting.
We will. Thank you, Council.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, item 47.
Excuse me, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 47 is REZ 25-127. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 5501, 5511, 5531, 5551, 5561, units 101 through 319, 5571, units 101 through 328, 5521 and 5541 North 22nd Street, and 2302 and 2236 East Hillsborough Avenue. The request is to rezone from PD Plan Development to PD Plan Development for residential multifamily, retail, sales, specialty convenience and shoppers goods, personal services, business, professional office, and restaurant. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. The applicant has also added the label identifying the location of the dog park. I am available for any questions.
Before I go any further, council will be taking lunch after this, so if you are here to speak to any other item, you're gonna have to do it when we come back. Sorry. Because I know we have some city staff here. I want to let them go. Okay, so do we have a petitioner for item number 47?
Yes, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson. The only question you had in between first and second reading was the location of the dog park. It did not change. I think Ms. Pope has a full-size site plan that she can show, but I also have it on my phone here.
Great. If we could have the wolf up?
Still in that same location.
Okay, that's what I thought. I appreciate
And it was on the construction plans too, it just didn't make it onto the plan. And it actually was incorrectly uploaded on the agenda today, so it had a moment of panic, but I communicated with staff and we're all good. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Anyone from the public wish to speak to item 47?
Move to close.
I have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Maniscalco, would you be willing to read this one?
Absolutely. Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 5501, 5511, 5531, 5551, 5561, units 101 to 319, 5571, units 101 to 328, 5521, and 5541 North 22nd, and 2302 and 2236 East Hillsborough Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classifications, PD plan development to PD plan development, residential, multifamily, retail sales, specialty convenience and shoppers goods, personal services, business, professional office, and restaurant, providing an effective date.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Vieira, Carlson, and Clendenin, absent I vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I get a motion to move items 31, 51, 52, and 59? We didn't do that yet. Okay.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now adjourned until 1:30.
Muted.